I'm glad to see that at least Dave Chappell is one of the few stand-up artists that still do stand-up comedy, real stand-up comedy. Most of the people we see today usually censorship themselves or they stop doing comedy. And I think we all know why. Well, if you don't know, the main reason is that you get a lot of drama. More exactly, a lot of losers try to cancel you by complaining on the internet all day, and for some reason, the losers working for a corporation think they matter. I mean, think that the people complaining on Twitter all day matter. But we all know it's not always random people on Twitter that complain. Sometimes you get journalists who only know how to write clickbait. Sometimes you get writers, directors, movie stars that nobody heard about. Or sometimes you get something even worse. So apparently, a transgender writer and co-showrunner of Netflix, Dear White People, Jacqueline Moore, announced boycotting Netflix after taking offense to their production and airing of Dave Chappelle new comedy special, The Closer. Yeah, because we all know boycotting works. I think all companies was boycotted at one time or another. And guess what? Most of them are okay. Do you know what actually harms a company? Bad products that people don't care about or products that don't work, that are very bad. Anyway, let's see what Jacqueline Moore has to say. I told the story of my transition for Netflix and most Pride Week. It's a network that has been my home on Dear White People. I've loved working there. I will not work with them as long as they continue to put out and profit from blatantly and dangerously transphobic content. Okay, let me get this clear. You loved working there. It was like your home. You was free to do whatever you wanted. Even if your show probably didn't make a lot of money. And I'm pretty sure about that because let's be real. Compared to Dave Chappelle, you will never ever be even 1% famous as he is. You will never ever make content that will be enjoyed over the years. And I'm not saying this to be mean, but you act like your stupid show is more important. First of all, somebody should tell Jacqueline Moore that she is white. I guess she wants to be called a she. I don't care for her that much to search if it's a she or not, because I don't give a fuck. But I am trying to be nice, because from what I see in this picture, you wear lipstick and you want to look like a girl, a woman, whatever. Anyway, it's not like she cares. Let's be real, no matter what you do, she will find a way to complain and a reason to complain. And what I want to talk about is it's funny that a white person has a show called Dear White People that's mostly with black people talking bad about white people. Basically, it's a racist show. A show made by a white writer talking about how white people are and how black people should act and how black people are. I don't really care, I just saw a trailer, I saw that a lot of people didn't like it, and even so her trailers barely get a few thousand views. And I think at least half of them, if not even more, are from people who just want to dislike it or who hate it and want to see how bad it is. Comparing that to Dave Chappelle, a black man who writes his own comedy, his trailer has over 2 million views and he has mostly likes. So he is a black man who is famous, who is loved, who makes a lot of money, who is very good. And here comes Jacqueline Moore, who wants to oppress the black guy, who wants to cancel him because he wants to talk whatever he wants. But how about the people who think her show, Dear White People, is racist? I already said why. I'm pretty sure she would not like that and she will not agree with that. But instead, it's okay for her to cancel another show because she thinks it's transphobic or whatever. From what I see, more people agree with Dave Chappelle. They love his show, they think it's funny, they like it. Compared to your show, barely any people watch it, a lot of dislikes, and I'm pretty sure your show is racist. Because when you write your stuff to make fun of white people or cisgender people or whatever, you don't make it to make people laugh. You don't want to create comedy. You don't care about comedy. You just want to attack somebody for their sexual orientation and their skin color. So Netflix gives you a show to do whatever you want, even if it's a bad show, if it's not that profitable, and even if it's racist, and not even trying to be funny or prove something with that. And you love it, and everything is okay. But then you see Dave Chappell doing something else, and he is black, and sure, you don't call him racist or something like that, but you still call him transphobic and you say he's making dangerously transphobic content. How the fuck is that dangerously? First of all, he's making comedy. And he's not making comedy since yesterday. He's making comedy for a lot of years. He's known for making comedy. And guess what? He makes a lot of fun of white people also. But he actually makes good jokes. He doesn't make those jokes to attack people, he makes it to make people laugh. I love so many of the people I worked with at Netflix, brilliant people and executives who have been collaborating and fought for important art. But I've been thrown against walls because I'm not a real woman. I've had beer bottles thrown at me, so I'm done. Well, I 100% agree. If people are violent with you or say bad things to you just because you are transgender, I think that's not okay. And that should never be okay and that should never happen. But if some people make jokes or if they are trying to debate you, that's another issue. For example, if you did transition to a woman, fine, I will call you she. I don't have an issue with that. As long as you're not the kind of person who transitions back and forth all over the place all the time. For example, people who today I think I'm a man, tomorrow I think I'm a woman, and I don't know, maybe in 2 hours I will be a man again. I'm sorry, but if you do that, you're a joke. I don't have an issue with that. You can do whatever you want. But don't expect me if I see you dressed like a woman and I call you a woman, but you get mad at me because it's actually 10 minutes past 10 and you're actually a man now, because I don't really care. But if you transitioned and you are a woman now, fine, I will call you a woman if you try at least to look like a woman. And if people tell you you're not a real woman, that's not transphobic. Sure, if they go out their way to tell you that even if you didn't ask them and if you didn't say anything, maybe they are. But let's say you're dating someone and he finds out that you're transgender. And he says, I'm sorry, but I want a relationship with a real woman, not a transgender woman. I think that's not transphobic, because maybe he wants kids that are not made in a lab. Maybe he will even break up with a woman if he finds out she cannot have kids. Anyway, whatever. Like I said, I don't care. You can be whatever you want to be. I don't have an issue, and I will even call you whatever pronouns you want, as long as you don't change it. And as long as you try at least to look like that. Because if you don't put any effort, at least a little effort, into looking like what you want to be, then don't expect me to remember what gender you prefer to be called. And this is the main issue. I never had a problem with transgender people, with LGBTQ. But people like Jacqueline Moore makes me want to lose respect for people who talk like her. Not for all LGBTQ people, of course, because some of the people that are LGBTQ mind their own business. And by minding their own business, I mean that they don't care. They just want comedy, they just want to be treated equally. But Jacqueline Moore doesn't want that. She wants special treatment. And she gets that. Even if she has a bad show, she still has a job. But because somebody else has another show that has nothing to do with her, she wants that person fired. She wants that person cancelled. Why? Did Dave Chappell throw a bottle at you? Did Dave Chappell encourage others to throw a battle at you? Did he say something like it's good that people throw battles at you because you're transgender? I don't think so. And guess what? You act like you're a victim. But do you think Dave Chappelle wasn't a victim? But you don't see him crying about it. He makes comedy about it. Because you can hear a lot of awful things that happen to him in his comedy acts. And yes, they are funny. And yes, they are terrifying and very wrong. But he didn't try to act like a victim. He didn't try to cancel other people who made jokes about race. He didn't try to cancel other people who tried to make jokes about him. Because some people are bad. And he knows that. And it doesn't matter if you're black, white, transgender, LGBTQ, or whatever. That doesn't mean you have a good life or a bad life. And from what I see, Jacqueline Moore is very, very privileged. I mean, how many people have their own Netflix show? A Netflix show that is very bad and unfunny, and very few care for it. But you still make a lot of money from that show. I'm sure there are many other good people who are better than you and who can do a better job, but they will probably never get a deal to do a Netflix show because you've been more privileged, because you were more lucky. So instead of you being happy and continuing doing whatever you want, promoting your stupid ass show, that's still not enough. You have to cancel everything that other people likes. It doesn't matter if you can do whatever you want. It's not okay that other people can do whatever they want. And yeah, this is where all the dislikes and all the rage comes from. This is why people don't like you. Mostly because you attack and blame people who never did you any harm. Anyway, she continues. Chappelle was one of my heroes. I was at his comeback show in New York City, but he said he's a TERF. TERF is trans exclusionary radical feminist, a term that some members of the transgender community quite literally use to refer to feminists who are anti-trans feminist. He compared my existence to someone doing blackface. He talked about someone winning a Woman of the Year awards despite never having a period should make women mad and that it makes him mad. Okay, if you didn't watch Dave Chappelle, this was part of his older acts. And guess what? It was a joke. And even if some jokes has some truth in it, Dave Chappelle makes fun of everybody. But from what I see, she was okay with making fun of everybody until it was a joke about her. So he was a hero, he was the best person ever, the best comedian ever, because he made fun of white people, of everybody. But then he made fun of you. Then you started having issues with him. Then he's not your hero anymore. Did he do anything wrong? No, he did what he always does, comedy. But instead of saying that you didn't like that joke, you instead stopped seeing him as a hero and you started seeing him as a transphobic person and a bad person and an evil person that you want cancelled. That tells me that you're a very shitty person. A person that cannot take criticism, that don't think people can make fun of you. But it's okay to make fun of other people, as long as it's not you. And yeah, he makes fun of Woman of the Year award because it was a transgender woman from what I remember. And he's talking about that person never having a period because, periods really sucks. I mean, you don't know, but whatever. And I also don't know, but I hear my girlfriend complaining all the time about her period. So I guess it really, really sucks. So yeah, Dave Chappelle, he's making fun of the fact that You have the benefits of being a woman, you get the prize of the Woman of the Year, but you don't get the bad stuff, like the period, like giving birth. And whatever, it was a joke, even if it is kind of true, but that's also the idea of the joke. You can find something that it is true in a joke, but make it funny. Sure, maybe that joke will not be funny. Sometimes you make bad jokes, or jokes that not all people like. That's why you can find different kinds of comedy. And you may especially not like the jokes that are aimed at you, that makes them bad jokes or transphobic or whatever. No. Do you speak for all transgender people? I don't think so. It will be strange for all transgender people to think the same, to like the same things, to do the same things. I mean, I think even if you are transgender, you still have your own identity. You cannot talk for all transgender people. And if somebody who's transgender likes something, that doesn't mean you also like something. Even if corporations try to tell us that we all think the same, we all are the same, we have no identity. Anyway, then we get a tweet from Women's Voice. They cancelled J.K. Rowling. They started calling her a turf. I didn't even know what that was, but I know that trans people make up words to win arguments. I'm Team Turf. This is what Dave Chappell said and what a woman's voice quoted. Okay, let's be real, at least on Twitter. How isn't this real? Every time you disagree with a trans people or LGBTQ or whatever, it doesn't matter what you say. If you don't agree with them, you are transphobic, you are an evil person, you are bigot. Anyway, if you agree or disagree with J.K. Rowling, it doesn't matter. That was her opinion, and you attacked and wanted to cancel her just because she said her opinion. And what the fuck? She just said gender is a fact. She didn't say anything anti-transgender. But that's all it takes. I guess you have to ruin somebody's real life just because she said something on the internet that you don't like. How is that worse than somebody who apparently beats you, throws bottles at you, tries to harm you in any way possible? I don't see you going after those people to try to cancel them or make them go to jail, but I see you having more issues with somebody like Dave Chappelle. Whatever, let's continue. And then he ended his special with a "but I had a trans friend" story. He says we don't listen, but he's not listening. Those words have real world consequences, consequences that every trans woman I know has dealt with. Bruises and panicked phone calls to friends. That's real. Well, like it or not, Dave Chappelle still makes comedy. He's not trying to fix bad people, homophobic people. He's not trying to do social justice or something like that. He's just trying to do comedy. Do you know what most of the people who don't like one type of comedy do? They don't listen to that type of comedy. They don't go to the shows, they don't watch those people making that kind of comedy. They watch only the things that they love. That's the idea of comedy. That's why I don't watch Jacqueline's more Dear White People, and I watch Dave Chappelle shows. Because I think you can make whatever show you want, but I don't care for it and I will not watch it. It's not for me. But when you try to cancel a show that I like just because you don't like it, then I have an issue. Because you say you have an issue with people attacking you for choosing your gender or something like that, you should understand better what it means to be attacked for something you like. So you should understand why it's not okay to attack people like Dave Chappelle who makes this kind of comedy. Just because he does something different and he likes something different is not a reason to attack somebody. But it seems to me that you have more issues with somebody like Dave Chappelle instead of people who do real harm. Not that the anti-stinker trans jokes were fine, but they didn't make me feel like, look at those people despising trans people when they laugh. The stuff from the special felt that way very clearly. Well, first of all, you say that you feel that way. Not everybody. You think that people are laughing because they despise trans people. Well, I also laugh at the white jokes that Dave Chappelle makes, not you. That means I also despise white people. And I also laugh at all kinds of jokes. That doesn't mean I despise all types of things and people. If I laugh at somebody or something, that doesn't mean I despise that thing. That's not quite how comedy works. But I already know that from the writing you do. And the audience received it as such. Their response were euphoric. He's finally saying it. Seeing that crowd hate trans people so openly, it make my blood run cold. No, it fucking didn't. Stop playing like a victim. He was making a joke, everybody laughed and liked the joke, and everything was he's finally saying it because not a lot of people have the balls to make this type of jokes because of people like you who want to cancel somebody because of a joke. So I think it was something more like, wow, Dave Chappelle wants to risk his career just to make a joke, an edgy joke. Well, that's what comedy is. And especially today, people are not expecting this to happen. Because there is always an idiot like you who says, how can you make that joke in today's modern days? Meanwhile, corporations and other countries still treat people like slaves. And they are racist and they do bad stuff, but you don't care. You were okay with just getting a lot of money from Netflix. You only cared when a black person came and said something you don't like. So it doesn't even matter if it was a black person. It doesn't even matter if it was another trans person. You will always play a victim and you will always say something bad just because they didn't say something you want them to say. So, no, if somebody laughs at a joke made for somebody or at somebody, that doesn't mean they hate that person or that thing. I think it was something bad if nobody was laughing and everybody said, yeah, you're right, yeah! But nobody did that. Everybody laughed. Because people took it like a joke. Because it was a joke. It was a comedy show. It wasn't a gathering made to hate trans people, to go after them. And it also wasn't a show just so you can make fun of trans people. It was a show who made fun of a lot of things. A lot of different things. Well, anyway, then she shows us some DMs. And I agree, nobody should DM you. Even if you try to cancel somebody over a joke, at least I don't think it's okay and I will never do it and I will never want somebody that I know to do that kind of stuff. When you're a trans woman, men treat you like a sex doll. They want to fuck in secret because they're embarrassed. And women treat you like a purse they want to show off, wants to prove how stylish they are before putting you in the back of their closet. Either way, you're an object. Well, I agree, that's awful. And you should stop going out with that type of man or woman. There are a lot of selfish people who act good, but they are not actually good. This is why I usually love Dave Chappelle and people like him. People who say what they think. And when you talk with people like him, you know what to expect. You know they are not fake. And you know he's doing that for comedy. But from what you tell me, you have men in your life who treat you like that, and you have women in your life who treat you like that. And if that's true, that's not okay. And maybe those are the kinds of people who tell you what you want to hear, who don't do trans jokes or something like that. But I see more harm coming from your friends, the men in your life, the women in your life, than from Dave Chappell's comedy. So maybe instead of attacking Dave Chappelle and making him your target and the problem with transphobic people, maybe you should be more careful with the people in your own life. Because it seems to me that they do more harm to you. And I still don't see how Dave Chappelle can harm you. Because from what you tell me, you have an issue with men who treat you like that. And you have a relationship with those kind of men. They affect your real life. But instead of focusing on that, you focus on Dave Chappelle making comedy. Okay, so transphobes hate when trans women talk about PMS, but transphobes hate when trans women talk about anything, so my nipples hurt so much, I'm an emotional wreck for no reason, and hormone cycles are real even if we don't have uteruses. Well, what can I say? I honestly think that a lot of people are having issues these days, emotional issues. And I think we should be more honest with our feelings. And if we can, we should talk with a specialist. I don't see what this tweet has to do with Dave Chappelle, but whatever. And oh yeah, depending on the t-shirt that I wear when it's cold outside, my nipples also hurt. I just wanted to share some of my problems. And yes, I can say because of that, I kind of understand you. And it's often the same people who thought I was brilliant before how now suddenly doubt and question me at every turn, despite again the fact I'm way more successful and experienced now than I was when they treated me like a genius. Male privilege is a hell of a drug. Again, what? Male privilege? Just because you choose to have toxic friendships, that has nothing to do with male privilege. You just choose to have toxic friends. That's all. Stop blaming everything on male privilege. Take the time and read a book about toxic people, and you will see that it's not about male privilege or female privilege or whatever you want to say. You will see that you have a lot of toxic people in your life, and that's why you have relationship issues. That's why you hate a lot of people. That's why you have an issue when people make jokes about you or about your sexuality. Someone with power talking to Jack bullshitting through a pitch. Wow, I think you have such a special voice. I don't want to get in the way of that. The same person talking to Jacqueline. I just don't think you understand the marketplace right now. The idea sold, by the way. Oh wow, somebody who doesn't think you will be successful. Do you know that a lot of famous people, a lot of famous artists had somebody in their life who told them something like this? That it will never work, that it's not a good idea, that sure they are good, but they should do it in another way. So yes, you will always have people who will tell you that it's not okay, you will not do a good job, you should change stuff. Again, maybe they try to give you their opinion. Maybe they don't know how to support you. Maybe they want to prepare you for failure so you're not that hurt when it happens. There's a lot of reasons. Or maybe that person doesn't want to see you succeed. Anyway, I hate being misgendered, but I really hate being misgendered twice. The first time it hurts, but I get it. I live in the world, I'm tall, I have manly features, I'm fighting against, etc. But once I correct you politely, misgendering me again feels like a choice, a cruel choice. Well, guess what? Some people are very selfish and they don't care. When I was a kid, a lot of people misgender me because I looked a lot like a girl. But I didn't care because I had more important issues in my life. But that doesn't mean it didn't suck. And it didn't affect me because I didn't want to be seen as a girl. And sure, some people will still misgender you even if they know what's your real gender. Here I can say two things. If that's one of the biggest issues you have in your life, then you have a good life. Because you may live in your bubble, where that's the biggest issues that you can find in the world. But we still have a lot of people who still have their toilet outside. We still have a lot of kids who don't have food. We still have a lot of families that don't have a house. We still have a lot of people that are sick and don't have money to be treated. We still have people with a handicap that still don't have easy access doors or help. So I understand, I'm not saying your issues doesn't matter. I'm just saying that you are very privileged if that's your top 5 issues. So you agree you look more masculine. So it will be more normal for some people to misgender you. And yes, it sucks when they still do it even if they know the truth. Maybe they are assholes and they don't want to be nice, or maybe they don't care because they have bigger issues in their life and they don't want to focus on anything else. Transphobes will be like, look at this man, he expects us to think he's a woman, gross! And then posted pictures of like a gorgeous cis passing model with perfect tits. It's almost like passing shouldn't be the goal almost. Whatever, there's a lot of people with different tastes. You don't have to agree with everybody doesn't have to agree with you. Anyway, let's continue. But they're too young. What if you had gotten surgery or taken hormones when you were a teen? I don't know why TERF and transphobes love farming a hypothetical where my wildest dreams come true like it's a horror movie. Okay, first of all, you also hypothetically say that because of Dave Chappell's jokes, people will become more transphobic and they will show their hate more. So you kind of do the same thing. And second of all, young people do a lot of mistakes when they're young. So yes, if you're 13 or 14 and you do surgery, it will ruin your life. This is why it's usually not legal to drive, to drink, to make sex, to show sex or whatever when you are a kid. And no matter what you say, you see a lot of people who are LGBTQ or pro LGBTQ who intentionally push this on their kid, who tell their kid every day, oh, you like playing with your dolls? Maybe you want to be a girl. Oh, I saw you wanted to try mommy's dress. Maybe you want to be a girl. Oh, I saw that you like cars. Maybe you want to be a boy. Well, when I was a kid, I usually liked to play with dolls. I liked to play with girls. That didn't mean I wanted to be a different gender. And what I'm saying is that a kid is not able to understand some things when he's young. And that person should at least be 18 until she can or he can make a decision. Because comparing that to somebody misgendering you, that's something that can affect your whole life. Hating Caitlyn Jenner, a pastime bringing trans women and their estranged families together for years now. Well, I don't really know anything about Caitlyn Jenner. From what I heard, she killed somebody, but apparently that's not important. And from what I know, she's very privileged. She has a lot of money for not doing anything important. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't feel sorry for her. There's a lot of people who work really hard and have no money, have nothing, and still get more hate than her. I don't see her getting affected by anything. I mean, by the hate. She's doing pretty fine, so stop crying for Caitlyn Jenner. A drunk lady in the women's room just called me gender challenged. I was annoyed, but I do have to concede that's a pretty accurate description of my life before I transitioned. Well, she was drunk. A lot of people, when they are drunk, they do a lot of stupid stuff. And whatever. People say stuff that I find annoying most of the time. What's the big issue? Well, that my Uber rating has gone down a ton since I transitioned, even though I continue to be polite and tip well. Wonder why that could be. Well, I don't know. Doesn't people have to say the reason they give you 1 star? I have no idea. Maybe you do have a lot of transphobic people in your country. Being misgendered by a lagging valet who continuously calls me sir despite me correcting him 5 times. That's just Saturday night in progressive Los Angeles, baby. Okay, I get it why you're mad. Especially if you're a customer, he should at least try. I agree. Okay, I'm skipping a lot of this stuff because I don't really care and it has nothing to do with Dave Chappelle. Let's just jump to the last tweet that also has nothing to do with Dave Chappelle, but I have something to say about it. I'm not going to start blaming normal shit on being trans. Alarm didn't go off, transphobia, flat tires, trans misogyny. My stomach hurts after I have ice cream. It's not because I'm lactose intolerant, it's because this lactose is trans intolerant. Well, that's actually a good joke. You should put it in your show. Maybe if you write this kind of jokes, maybe you will do better and you will make good comedy because it's funny and it's also true. Many times I see people being called transphobic just because they said something a trans person doesn't like. So if it was a joke, I think it was funny. If not, then you don't even know when you make a joke. So let's close this big ass video. So after the backlash that Dave Chappelle got on social media, I mean Twitter, I mean it wasn't really backlash, a lot of idiots complained because they didn't like his comedy. If this is what being cancelled is like, I love it, said the comedian last Thursday during a sold out show at Los Angeles Hollywood Bowl. Fuck Twitter, fuck NBC News, ABC News, all these stupid A networks. I'm not talking to them, I'm talking to you. This is real life. So this is it. This is what Dave Chappelle had to say. And I'm glad that he understands who's his fans. The journalist will not bring him money. The idiots complaining on Twitter will not buy the tickets. And even if some of them will buy it, it's a very small number. You will not see the difference. I think if he will start to censorship his content, then he will lose a lot more money. And if you are a trans person, if you had a bad life, if you have a lot of transphobic people in your country, that doesn't mean they exist because of Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is one of the few people who treat you like equals. That means he makes fun of you, he makes fun of the cis white man, of the black man, of the Chinese, of the Japanese, all of them. It doesn't matter who you are. He tries to make jokes if he thinks it's funny. That's all. Comparing that to the comedy from the TV shows these days, for the Colbert Report and Daily Show and other stupid shows like that, Jimmy Fallon, you always know what type of comedy they will do. They will always attack the same persons over and over, and they will always do the same jokes over and over. That is the difference when you want to see somebody who really wants to attack you even if they are joking, because they only try to do the same jokes over and over and only about you. And the difference between Dave Chappelle, who tries to do different jokes about different people, and he is not focusing on attacking anybody, he is focusing on comedy. Because he would never do this type of jokes if people didn't laugh, if people didn't enjoy it. And I don't understand how Jacqueline Moore thinks Dave Chappelle making a joke needs to stop and it's transphobic. Is the worst thing that can happen these days. Even if I see that in her real life, she has a lot of toxic people. People who treat her like an object. And she knows that. But instead of focusing on that and fixing that, she cares more about canceling a comedy show. Anyway, I don't think you should blame the bad things that happen in your life with a comedy show. And as long as you have the freedom to do whatever show you want, even if it doesn't seem to make a lot of profit and not a lot of people like it, you still have a show. You should be happy. There are other people that are better than you, that can write better, that are more creative. And I'm not saying you are bad, I'm just saying that you can always find somebody better, no matter who you are. Even if you are number one at something today, there will always be somebody who will be number one next year, or in 2 years, or in 3 years. You will never be number one forever. That's my point. So I think you should be happy with having the privilege to do what you love, because a lot of people never had that opportunity. And I understand that doesn't mean you still have no issues in your life, and that doesn't mean you are happy, or maybe you want a different show, a bigger show, I don't know. But I still don't understand why you want to cancel somebody like Dave Chappell, who at first you said he is your hero. And he does only comedy. And you know that he's not doing what he does because he wants to be transphobic or something like that. He's doing it to make people laugh and to make money, of course. And just because you didn't like a jokes or more jokes that he did, that doesn't mean he should do whatever jokes you want him to do. You are a writer, you can do your own jokes, your own show. You should already know how awful it is to not have your own show, to want to have that and to not be able to have it. So why are you trying to cancel somebody else's show? Of course you will not succeed because he has a lot of money and he doesn't care. Even if he doesn't work anymore, he will still have a lot of money. But he has a lot of success, so no matter where he goes, people will follow him. But still, that's not a reason to try to cancel him or to hate him just because he makes some jokes that you don't like. I don't hate you because you made some jokes that I don't like. I just ignore your content. I never watch your content. And I want to end this video with saying one more thing. I understand if she has a show, that doesn't mean she's okay. She is feeling fulfilled with her life. I understand that she will find people that will want to attack her just because she wanted to be transgender. I'm not saying if she has a Netflix show that means her life is perfect. She has no real issues. But I'm saying that she acts a little too dramatic. What I mean by that is that she's saying that she loves working with Netflix and she thinks her show, Dear White People, it's like her home. But then she says she will not work there anymore because Dave Chappelle made some jokes about trans people? And you want me to take you seriously? You leave a place that you love just because another person that has nothing to do with your show made a joke that you don't like. You say goodbye to your dream job just because somebody made a joke. A joke that was not aimed at you and a joke that you don't have to watch. I don't care about your show, I don't watch your show, and I don't start complaining on the internet about how bad your show is. I'm only talking about you and your show just because you want to cancel Dave Chappelle for something that you do even worse. You have a whole show making fun of white people and writing for black people. That's something that's much more closer to an ism than anything that Dave Chappelle does. If Dave Chappelle's show is transphobic, then your show is on a next level of racism, sexism, and bad comedy. And that the last part is the worst.